Hello and welcome back to All for United. Oh god, it's negativity everywhere you look at the moment, isn't it? Men's, women's, 23s, 18s. Crikey. Well, we've only got the one game to cover this week, so only one negative this weekend, and it's all about the Manchester United women's manager, Marc Skinner. He's under as much pressure as Ollie right now. Me and Benny are back. We've got a brilliant guest as well. Let's just get straight into it.
Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from Passionate Reds, only on All for United.
And we're back. We've missed a week, Benny. How are we?
Oh, mate. What a week, mate. It's just everything's just, as you said at the start there, everything's just, not very positive, is it? Everything's still on a negative, everything's still on a downturn. People are warring with each other, whether that be fans, whether that be people warring with who they want with the manager. Oh, it's just, mate, it's a nightmare. I just want a bit of positivity back at Manchester United so I don't have to sit on here and pander to all the unpositive people.
Definitely. And we do have Maisie. She is there. She'll have her camera on shortly. Maisie, I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Thanks for having me on, Connor.
Yes, no worries. First time, obviously, on the men's side of the channel. You've been on WFC, and we may as well, Benny, just get straight into the topic of today. There's only the one result to cover this week on Roundup. There's been a few 23s and 18s results a couple of weeks ago, but the only result of the weekend was Man United women 1-1 away at Everton. Fourth consecutive draw if you include Durham as well. You were at the game yesterday. What was it like? I mean, I missed a lot of the first half, but what was that like for you? Obviously at the game, and your just kind of initial thoughts on it.
It started off all right, pal. I think the way we played the first half was totally the way we played the second half. And I think the first half, really, again, we seem to be playing, we seem to start positive on the front foot, and I thought, the first half was attacking towards us, towards the fans, towards the United fans, which is always sort of, I suppose if you're a Manchester United player, you always want to put in your best, I think, or play your best football when you especially away from home, when you're attacking the end that your fans are at. So that maybe has something to do with it. But at the end of the day, mate, I thought we played decent football in the first half. I thought it looked all right. It wasn't spectacular. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't spectacular. It wasn't breathtaking football, but we played all right. We got the ball down. We seemed to play the ball on the floor a little bit more than what we had been, instead of trying to hoof it in the air. Which was, that again, was quite pleasing to see, and it was just we seem to make the pitch a little bit wider as well, albeit down maybe one side. I still think Leah Golden was too far inwards for my liking. You're talking about at one point where Casey Stone was described as the best left winger in English women's game, and struggling to get her involved. Playing far too narrow down that side, but the good thing is we had Alicia Russo down on the right hand side of things in place of Kirsty Anderson for this week, and she did actually stick quite wide. Did get a bit of, as our Stu likes to call it, a bit of chalk on her boots. And I think that we got quite a lot of joy down that side. To be fair, quite a lot of our joy especially the first half, all came down the right hand side, because we had space, and Russo was running at the fullback at times, taking the fullback on. Whereas maybe I think Galton was a little bit more ganged up upon. Let's be fair, Galton always has a decent game against Everton, so maybe Everton had that in mind in the first place. However, I do think she was playing far too much inside, so she had little ball time. I don't think if we played her like we did Russo, let her get chalk on her boots, I think we would have seen Galton a lot more and running at the opposition fullback on her side. I think we'd have got a lot more joy, but I just think it's just too narrow at times down one side again. It reminded me of the age-old problem with the men's side, where And the left-hand side's all right, but we're far too narrowed on the right-hand side because we've got no one there to. But yes, this time in the women's side, for people who don't know, you have got an out-and-out winger in Leah Golton down the left-hand side, but yet you're playing her as far in it as she can, as a centre-forward type thing, maybe as a partner to Martha Thomas, which you didn't really need to. Martha Thomas is your target. Is your number 9. Let's just put, Golton out wide, but. Listen, we got a goal, great goal by Ella Tuno. Great goal and a great celebration for those who haven't seen it. She comes over, celebrates the fact, which in the women's games, very, very doesn't really happen a lot where they come right over to the fans and celebrate. Usually they just celebrate with each other in a huddle, But it was nice to see Ella come running straight over to the fans. Whether that was, how can I put it? Whether that was just her just being absolutely delighted because I think the previous game she didn't really play very well. She couldn't get into the game. But it was nice for her to come over and celebrate with the fans. I'm yet to see what I want from in the women's game that happens in the men's game a lot where, although I know you get a booking for it, but you come and jump in with the fans and celebrate with the fans. I know COVID's got something to do with it as well before someone mentions that. But I'd love to see that one day. Maybe as somebody said on the social chat yesterday, maybe we'll get to a cup semi-final or something, someone scores the winner in that. That'd be great. But, I just think we're stop talking now because I can go on forever. But I've realised I've got to do exactly the same on the women's channel yet. That's my analysis for the first half. I'll let Maisie come in and see what she has to say about that.
Just quickly before I bring you in, Maisie, obviously, there's a brilliant video. If you go and check it out, it's on my Twitter. I think Karen initially uploaded it of Ella Toon scoring, and she runs it. The favourite bit about all that is when she turned to like where the camera was, where Nat was, and everything, and just goes, "Get in!" Like almost like celebrate, as excited as the fans were. So. Yeah, it's brilliant. I kind of agree with everything you said. Niall, brilliant to see you. Foxes, obviously, if you're a Leicester fan, you're probably happier than we are at the moment. Stu, good to see you.
Was that a cheap shot, by the way?
What?
Leicester City, the women's side bottom of the league.
They would be happier than us in women's football, maybe men's, but not women.
Is that the men's? Oh, right, that's my bad. I thought that was all right. Yeah, just ignore me.
Yeah, maybe not in the women's. No, yeah,
I'm digging a hole for myself already. It's only been 6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah, 100%. We do have a WFC channel as well that is purely dedicated to women's football. They do a show every single week, but me and Benny have this show every week. And this week it just happens to be Marc Skinner. So before we come on to Skinner himself, Maisie, how did you find, obviously, the game at the weekend? It was another game where we've been ahead 4 in a row now. We've been ahead and not won. How did you see it?
The thing is, I really love watching the women's football so much, and then it's always like the first half we're just putting all our into it. We're just literally like absolutely amazing. Like nobody else can be better than us because we're playing that well in terms of football in the first half, and then we get our goal first half if that's going to be like just before half time or on the 30th minute or so, and then once we get that goal and it comes into the second half, it feels a bit like, oh, we've got our goal now. We'll just slack that tiny bit just because we've got that little bit of advantage. That's how I really thought it has been at this moment in time. And I think some clubs, like obviously Everton, Spurs, have took that advantage and they've obviously got that equalising goal. And then by the time we have got that equaliser, it goes to like, there's not enough time for us to score that next goal then for us to win the game. So I just think if we put as much effort in as we do in the first half as in the second half, we'd absolutely be dominating the game throughout.
Yeah, I think it's something Skinner touched on, didn't he, about we're not decisive enough. He said that a few times in a lot of his interviews, that defence and attack, we've lost. We're going to talk about Skinner in a minute, but I mean, in particular, we've lost. I keep saying loss. It's because it feels like a loss. We've drew the last 2 games because of individual errors. Mannion and Blundell and Maria against Spurs, not going up for the ball. And then this week, obviously, Mary and Maria getting a bit confused at the back. But you cannot sit on 1-0 leads like we're doing. No. And I think it's coming back to bite us now. With the attacking, with the midfield options we've got, we should be dominating the ball in midfield, and we're not. So that's a whole show on itself as to what your kind of midfield pairing is. But Benny, I'll come to you first because obviously you were there yesterday. moving on to Marc Skinner himself, because obviously that is why we're here and the focus of the show. Obviously, at the moment, Ollie is getting an absolute bashing in the men's game. And it seems now Skinner's getting the same in the women's. What's the atmosphere? What was the atmosphere like at the game yesterday?
It was good atmosphere, mate. It was a really, really good atmosphere throughout the game. As you can imagine, you always get United fans are really good like that. We always get behind the team and everything. But certainly at full time, I know that there was one or two when he came over that were telling him he's not good enough. Mark, what you're doing, you're totally clueless, mate. You're out your depth. And I think, to be honest with you, mate, listen. I would have said maybe 95% of people still behind him. You know what I mean? You always get that odd sort of little faction they're not be very happy. I think frustrations are boiling over a little bit. It is as amazing. Actually pointed out spot on, and I said to you backstage, Connor. First half we look absolutely on it. Second half, I don't know what he says to the players, but we come out a totally different side every time. It's like he tells us to take the foot off the gas, reserve energy or something. It's like Stu said there in a comment. I've seen highlights now, and it is really an in-game management and concentration. I'm not sure we're fit enough either. I don't think we look fit enough either. I don't know what he's doing in training, whether he's trying to lighten the load. Maybe Casey went too hard on him and was picking up too many injuries, and maybe he's trying to lessen the load in training. But and that's having an effect on the fitness of the side. I don't know. It's just baffling me. And the thing with Skinner as well, he doesn't help himself with his pre and post match press conference either, because he babbles on about a load of nonsense. To be fair, yes, I get Zone 19 is coach talking. I've spoken to Matt Crane. They do use things like Zone 19, Zone 20, and stuff like that. It happens, as Crane said on Saturday night. Happens from like 18 years and over. And they start going into all this sort of zone things. So, but. It's just some of this waffle he comes out with, like against Spurs when he's like, I haven't got long locks or something, but if I did, you'd see my hair blowing or something like that, because he's trying to blame the win for the goal. Well, listen, mate, we can't be sitting on 1-0 leads if you're not listening, and if you're not being paying attention to your own tactics, to the way that United are playing. You're always most dangerous when you're 1 goal ahead in any game. You have to go for the kill. You have to go 2-3-0, 4-0 ahead. Put teams to bed. Chelsea did that yesterday to Man City. They absolutely destroyed them 4-0 in City's own backyard, which is Chelsea's biggest win there. I think, or someone could correct me, I think it's Emma Hayes' first win there, actually, to be fair as well, as Chelsea boss. But you have to be ruthless at times, It's just, I don't know, mate. It's very, very baffling. And I like the guy. I think give him time. Like I've said this before, give him time. Let him implement his own days. At least give him a season, and see where we're at the end of it. But I can understand why people are getting frustrated. It comes up with so much waffle and so much jargon. It's like, he always bigs things up beforehand, and then games are not going to according to how he said they're going to play out, and and fans are rightly feeling frustrated. But it was just something I noticed, like to my left hand side, a couple of 2 or 3 fans were getting on his back. Skinner, this is not good enough. You need to sort it out quickly. Someone said, Skinner, you're so far out your depth, you don't know what you're doing, mate. You don't know what you're talking about. It's not good enough. And it's just I want the guy, like Ollie, I want the guy to do well. I want the guy to prove the doubters wrong. Because let's be fair, Connor. I was sat on a show on the women's channel when he first joined, and it was 85% of people didn't want him there.
I remember.
Didn't want him. There was like because of what happened at Orlando Pride, what happened at Birmingham City. People they're very, very cautious of him coming in, and they weren't very happy. It's not to the caliber that Manchester United should be looking at for a women's manager. But I still think give the guy a chance. There's something in there. But I do think that he needs to start helping himself and start seeing games out quick. Even if it's in the first half, get you 3-4 goals in. But that's also on the players to be clinical enough for themselves as well. Because again, we had chances and we're not taking the chances. But second half, Everton came out a totally different side. And I put that down to also taking the foot off the gas and not being as or not looking to be as dominant as we were in the first half. It's like, yeah, we'll let them come on to us. We'll try and soak the pressure up, and hopefully we can hit them on the counter and then get a second goal and game's over and done with. But we're rarely hitting teams on counter either, because every time we get the ball second half, because we're trying to absorb the pressure, we're putting ourselves under pressure. The players start panicking a little bit. That ball's knocking straight loose and goes straight back to Everton or the opposition, whoever it may be, and it's coming back at us quicker than we are getting rid of it. So,
yeah,
plenty to talk about, mate. We go on forever.
Yeah, I'm going to come. There's a brilliant comment from Marcy that I'm going to come back to, but something you mentioned was press conferences, and I want to ask you, Maisie, what you kind of think of the way he talks, because I saw your tweet after the Everton game, and you were kind of agreeing with me that I almost like that, the fact he's passionately defending himself in press conferences. How do you kind of, because a lot of people were angry with the last 2 weeks especially.
Yeah, I could understand people being angry, because especially when you are getting that 1-0 advantage at halftime, you are expecting for the game to get buried in the second half, get that goal or two in the second half, rather than putting the break on, because that's obviously what it looks like it's been at the moment. And when I was watching Marc Skinner's press conference, I'd never seen a manager as passionate as what I seen him on that press conference against Everton. I was thinking, wow, like, he is genuine, he is serious, and he is showing that he wants to be Manchester United manager, and he is wanting to improve the team. I understand a lot of people are saying about Marc Skinner, yeah, he's not good enough for the job, but at the end of the day, for me, I always give the manager a chance regardless of what the past experience is, because just because they may have a good experience in the past doesn't mean they can't do it for Manchester United. You've just always got to give that person a chance, and you can tell with Marc Skinner that he is trying and he wants to do best for the team. It's just that we've had like so many new signings, the team is getting used to Marc Skinner's kind of tactics. So it is going to take time. It's not going to take, like, we've played, 7 games? It's not going to take 7 games to be where we should be. We need to build up every single game more as a team. And it isn't going to take the couple of games. It might take half a season. It might take a full season. And this is where we've got to review what Marc Skinner is at the end of the season. And if he does what he says in this press conference in the next game and continues to do that, it's just showing that he is trying to improve the team so much.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come straight back to you on a question, and then Benny, I'll bring you in afterwards. That Marty's brought up about. She's saying there that the rule of thumb is usually to give a manager a season. I personally think the reason why we're seeing Skinner under so much pressure, I think there's 2 reasons. Obviously, Maisie, I'll ask you first. But the first 2 reasons I can think of is, one, because of the men's side of the game at the minute with Ollie. I think there's a lot of pressure there, and the anger is almost doubled now because of the way the women's team, and also because of the opening that has been presented to us with Man City dropping down. It's opened up that 3rd place, and we could get it this year. And I think the frustration is we should be getting it on the basis of last season, the City dropping out, but we're not. Brighton and Spurs are now ahead of us. So what do you think on that question? Do you think it's going to be too late if we give him a full season, or should we be judging him by January?
At the end of the day, I just think you can't judge someone just so early into the game. If you look at, for instance, in the manager's side, we judged David Moyes far too early. And then look what happened, and look at him at West Ham. He's doing absolutely brilliant. You can't judge someone so early into the game, half a season, which we did with David Moyes. He got sacked, and it didn't go well, because really, what kind of success has the men's team had? Since that, we haven't won the league. We've won the Europa League, Carabao Cup, and the FA Cup. We haven't been a proper title contender. Whereas with the women's game, we need to give the manager a chance, because Marc Skinner, he is more of that possession-based kind of manager, but it's not working for him right now, because we are looking more of that counter-attacking kind of team, which is, I think in ways I still kind of see Casey Stoney's kind of tactics when I do watch the game sometimes. It doesn't always seem that Marc Skinner's tactics are really going into the team right now. And you can't just say to someone, oh, we'll give you till January, see how it goes on. Because if you look at, like, last season in the women's game, we was in 1st place when it got to January, and then we went to 4th. Who's to say that we was in 5th place in January? We might get to 2nd by the end of the season. Anything could literally happen in the space of a couple of months. So you can't just judge someone, especially just after a couple of months' time, because the game only started in September. So you're only giving him, 3 months to prove himself? And I think 3 months is very, very little for a manager to do something at the club.
That's a very good point, actually. That we saw last season, Benny, I'll come to you with it. That we were first. Both teams were, the men's and the women's were first in the same week, and we all thought, this could be the year where at least one of them win, and we both dropped away. So that's probably a good point. That we should give him time. You're looking at January. I've been speaking to a lot of people the last few days. If we don't know how the next few games are going to go. We've got City, Arsenal, obviously City in the cup. Let's just do league games. Arsenal, Brighton, and Villa before the Christmas break. If we get 7 points from those, we're back in the race again. So I don't know. Do we need to be patient, Benny? Obviously, you saw more of last season than most people. You've been there almost since the beginning of the women's team. Should we be giving this guy time? I guess the question I'm asking is it an overreaction to be judging him now? Or are people right in what they're saying? And I've heard a lot of people say, what we're waiting for might not be good enough.
Joe, I've always said, I said it right. We had a big debate, as I said before, on the women's channel. Right at the start when he came in, I said, give the guy time, and I went off on people of comments for being so negative, and I was like, give this guy needs time. It could take up to a season, maybe 2 seasons for him to implement his style. Amazing, saying it absolutely spot on. They're all under. Remember, they've had 3 and a bit. Well, yeah, 3 seasons, 4 seasons under Casey Stoney. Yeah, 3 seasons. Sorry, under Casey Stoney. A lot of that Casey Stoney style and way of playing will be drilled straight into, because Casey Stoney is very regimented in the way that she managed and coached that side. And so it's still, the players probably still get used to it. Because let's be fair, that squad and even the signings are all Casey Stoney's near enough. I don't think Marc Skinner had a hand in any of these signings coming in. These were all basically what Casey Stoney had sort of in place, or had any of the new players coming have had maybe talkings to over the last 12 months or whatever it may have been before they came in, So let's be fair, it's not yet a proper Marc Skinner side. He's not really had a transfer window, which has been his alone. So he's having to work and try and rework a regimented style of what Casey Stoney had in there. And let's be fair, Casey Stoney started off in the Championship, and yet the players that we had for the Championship were really, really. Let's be fair, that was really good. There was far too good for that league. So yes, we won it at a canter, and then Casey finished. We had 2 4th-place finishes. Under Casey in the WSL, which, let's be fair, as a team that's as new as us, is absolutely fantastic. And yes, we lost out by a couple of points to Arsenal at the Champions League. Last season, and individual errors were coming in there, creeping in towards the back end of Casey Stoney's reign. Things have not been right at the club since, And let's be fair, it's been a huge pressure cooker. Manchester United is a huge pressure cooker at the minute. The environment around Manchester United, people might say, "Oh, but the women's team's different." No, but it isn't. So it's still a Manchester United team. They're still all in Carrington. They're still all around the men's team. It's still all one club. United likes to treat it as one football club. Whether you're under 5s, under 12s, under 18s, men, women. We're all as one. And I think the pressure at the minute around Manchester United is at such a high boiling over point as it is. Obviously fans are not happy in the men's side. Ollie's getting a lot of verbal abuse, whether it'll be, well, not verbal abuse, what do you call it, online abuse, people not happy, people not doing this. And, and I even feel for Solskjaer, man. How the hell do you treat a club legend like that? I have no idea. But look, listen, I'm not going to get into that because I could moan on about that as well for ages. But at the end of the day, I think Skinner's is petering down between the age groups, the 21s. I've not been able to see the 21s, unfortunately, for a while because obviously their games are at the same time as United's first team. But one of my mates says he's noticed a change even in the atmosphere at the 21s a little bit when you go, of frustration. People are getting frustrated quite easy, whereas 21s usually are a more relaxed atmosphere. It's like, yeah, these are kids. Obviously, we'll give them time, but I think it's starting to boil over into there a little bit as well. So, and I've said it before a number of times, there is no hiding place at Man United. When things go wrong or when things, people are not happy with things, you're right in the firing line, no matter who you are, whether you're the manager, coaches, players, the physios, anyone associated working with Manchester United, you're in the firing line. And this is the problem with playing for Man United, the biggest football club in the world. And I say even at the women's level, I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, those players will never feel pressure. If they left Manchester United, they will never feel the sort of pressure they're under now. And it's not fair to say why the players under pressure, but it's the club as a whole that's under pressure, and it's putting pressure on everybody else's games because we're not playing the same free-flowing way. Players don't seem to play with that same freedom and that same belief. It's like, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, I've seen it in the men's side. If I make this one mistake, I get absolutely vilified, and social media will call me all sorts. And listen, this is happening now in the women's game. It's filtering all down. And people were getting on Mary Earps' case yesterday. Yes, it was a mistake. The goalkeeper should be clearing people out the way. And I felt sorry for her because as soon as the full-time whistle went, she turned to the fans, put her hands on her heart, and said, I'm sorry, I'm really, really sorry. Takes guts to do that. She could have just walked off, get to the team huddle and, that not say anything, But she was sorry, And I think everywhere is feeling the pressure of it. And Marc Skinner is going to get, I think it's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better for Skinner, unfortunately. Fans, the modern day football fan are not the most patient of fans. They expect wins, they expect trophies, they expect all this. And it's just, I don't know, mate. I just hope he doesn't walk away. I know there's been a lot of talk that maybe he might walk away before it's all said and done. It's just too much pressure. It's too much. The hot seat's too much to handle. I hope he could take it in his stride and be a bit like Ollie and just say, that's what they think. That's what they think. But I'm here to do the best job I can for Manchester United until somebody higher up tells me that I'm no longer required to do that job. Then, I still think he's the right guy. I still think give him time. Give him at least a season. Let's give him at least one summer transfer window, and let's see how we build upon this. Rome wasn't built in a day, and that's what people got to realise. Rome's not built in a day. Rome was built in stages. Gradually, we got there with Rome. Why do we think that in our fourth season, in our third season as a WSL side, do we think we're going to be challenging for titles and challenging for Europe? We've got no divine right. We are Manchester United. We are the biggest team in the world, yes. We've got no divine right yet. Chelsea, it took Emma Hayes 10 years, a decade to build this Chelsea side up to what it is now. And yet she still can't win the European Cup. She failed last season. But, do you know what I'm saying, though? 10 years of solid building. When, as United fans, I think we need to give Skinner at least one summer transfer window and then into next season and see how we're playing. Let's just chill out on the guy. Let's take the pressure off him a little bit. Let's just sit there and just say, listen, Skinner, I know we've been a little bit critical. It's just because we want to see United do well. Right? We're going to sit off now and give us all you can till Christmas. Give me all you can till Christmas. Pressure's off now. You go out there, you get them girls to perform to Christmas. Get us to Christmas and then we'll have a good Christmas break and hopefully January we hit it absolutely. Like you said, Connor, Maisie said it, why can't we go from wherever we are now on the table? I'm not even looked at it, I'm not dare look at it. From where we are now to getting into the Champions League.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I think a thing that people are overlooking a little bit, last season was under COVID with no fans. They didn't have to look at social media last year. There was no fans in the ground, so they wouldn't have known unless they looked on social media what the fans' reaction was. This season, fans are back. Sky are involved, BBC. Everything's getting looked at. Everything's analysed and everything else. So there's more pressure. And I said to you, Benny, backstage, that I think a lot of the players, I thought it was fitness. I actually think it's confidence. I don't think they want the ball. I said after Spurs that there's too many players marking themselves out of the game because they don't want the ball. They'll go and stand by an opposition player to make it look like they're doing something, but in actual fact, they don't want the ball. I think I'm just going to go through a couple of these comments. John, great to have you back. I think you're bang on. Skinner and the team need to improve. Losing the lead far too often. Well, it's 4 in a row now. Trying to hold a 1-goal lead is so annoying, and it does feel like a loss at the end of it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Stu saying there, if you don't have managerial patience, you're on it 2 or 3 a season. That's the issue. And the thing is, when we see this in the men's as well, you talk about sacking the manager. I think the bigger question is, if you sack him, where do you go after that? Because you've got Skinner drilling this style of playing. If you sack Skinner, then you've got another manager coming in trying to do something else, and it's just going to get confusing.
We're going to just go back to square one if we just sack another manager, especially at this stage of the season. I know we're only 7 games in, but that's just going to disrupt the team as a whole, and it's going to take a couple of games then for them to get into the training, what the new manager is, and then you don't know if them kind of tactics will get into the game then within the end of the season anyway. So I think it's just very wrong just to sack the manager at this point anyway in general.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And I think, Stu's saying
it's not as though we're at that situation where Man City is, who have lost their last 3 home games. They've lost to all the London clubs. And with Manchester City, they're out of the Champions League as well. And they're the ones where you have success. Whereas with the women's game, I know we've won the championship, but we haven't had that success where we've won the league or we've won the FA Cup or the Conti Cup. We haven't done anything like that. So anything what we do receive, like a cup or a Champions League, it's that extra step into the right direction compared to what it was last season. Because as what Ben has said, we have still a very new side. And we're very new compared to all the other sides who are there. Even the newly promoted Leicester, we're much newer than what Leicester is. Because we've only came in 2018. We've had Casey Stoney building us up, then Marc Skinner. Well, I think a lot of people, because of the way we play sometimes as well, I don't think people realise how new we quite are as well, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, and I think Marty's read the point there about players we signed, Mannion, Blundell, and Bo Rees. Obviously, Bo Rees we haven't really seen, so we can't judge it yet. Mannion and Blundell have been good. Blundell's great going forward, but I am raising questions of her defensive awareness. We get caught out a lot down her side, but that's not taken away from her as a player. But I think, Ben, you raised the point that these aren't his players. Mark didn't sign these players. A lot of these deals were already agreed when Casey was in charge. Probably promised what Casey was offering, this 5-year plan that we always hear about, and now it's a complete. And me and Nat spoke about it on the women's channel last week or the week before. It's not like Skinner is a very similar management style to Casey. They're completely different in interviews, in tactical player management. They're completely different. So you can't expect the same. We may be going backwards to go forwards, but I've said this numerous times. It takes about 18 months to drill a system into a player. You cannot. And I get it where people are coming from. Players are confused. I think they are. They're being on the pitch, and I think, Maisie, you might have said it earlier, sometimes it looks like we play like we did under Casey, and I think that is because the players default back to what they know, especially some of the core group like Yazellum and Galton and players like that have been through the club, quite a while. So, yeah, it's a tough situation. I don't want to see both sets of managers, men's and women's. I know it's going to be a question I'm going to bring up in a minute, but I don't want to see both sets of managers hounded out of our club because I want us to be better than that as a fan base. But ultimately, it's results driven, isn't it? So, crikey, we need to try and turn this around. Smash a like on the video, everyone's watching. Niall, I'm loving all of your comments that are coming in. I'm trying to get through them all. Gary, hi to you. Good to see you. John said here is, yeah, exactly that. It applies to football and management. It's results driven at the end of the day, and Mark will ultimately be judged on results. But it's like we keep saying, we said this, Maisie's brought this up initially. I'm going to be stealing this now and saying it all the time. We went from 1st to 4th last season. What's to say we can't go from 4th to 3rd or to 2nd this season? It's a long season. There's a question coming in here. Ben, I'll come to you then quickly on that one. Do you just want to quickly answer that about talking about there? Obviously, he's come in and inherited Casey's players almost. He hasn't really had we don't know how many of those players he wanted. We're just talking there about contract being up. We said last week Jackie's contract's coming, to an end.
Quite a few players' contracts that are coming up, and be interested to see how quickly deals are done for players that he wants to keep, because that'll give you a great idea of who he doesn't want to keep in a way. Listen, I think they'll be stall on the contracts for as late as they can, I think, in my opinion, just to give him enough time to make sure he's assessed the players properly, whether he wants to keep them, whether he wants them to be offered a new contract. Because, for example, you can have a player in there that contract might be up, not had a great first half of the season, then come back after Christmas, refreshed, energised, and have a great ending to the season, and that might change a manager's mind. So I think United will delay it as long as they possibly can, and just get players signed up as the very, very latest they can do it. But obviously then you run the risk of other teams then maybe coming in and trying to talk to the players, and if the players have got agents, I know it's not really a thing in the women's game too much where they've all got agents, but people like the Jackie Groner will have an agent, players like that, they'll have agents and that, so you do run that kind of a risk as well. But I'm sure he'll give them every available opportunity that he can to prove themselves and to maybe prove his thinking wrong if he thinks that someone's not quite good enough. But then may think, well, if I give him another 2 or 3 months and then see what they're like after that, see if they can force their way into the team, and then see if they, change my mind on a couple of prospective things, and that can so easily happen. It's going to be an interesting time, though, with so many contracts up as well. I can't remember how many there was, but I know there's quite a few of the original, if you like, quite a few of the original lot that have been there for quite a while. I know their contracts and most of their contracts are up this summer, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I'm just hoping that we make sure we're doing it properly. We make sure we're giving players enough of a chance, to prove themselves, especially if it's not gone right for them, or they've been out with long injuries or whatever it may have been, and they've not had too much opportunity to play football this season. Because there is a couple of cracking players in there that we're not seeing too much of yet, because of injuries and what have you, So it'll be interesting, pal. It'll be interesting.
Maisie, I'm going to come to. Sorry to drop you in here, but I'm going to come to you with a question that literally Stu has just put in about. He's saying there that Stu obviously is saying that he thinks we need a system change. We need to start playing to players' strengths and not what. What's it for the second comment? If you don't have the players to apply Skinner's ideas, you need a system to suit the players. And I do agree, and this is where we keep talking about. He needs if he wants to play differently to Casey, which he clearly does. I don't agree with all what I've said in the last few weeks that he doesn't have tactics. He does. It's very obvious if you watch how he plays. It's 2-6s, it's high fullbacks, and it's your inside forwards. It's so obvious how he wants to play, but we don't have the players yet to do that. So, do you think he needs to change his style to suit the players we've got before he has a transfer window, or do you think he needs to just keep with this so the players get used to it?
It's an hard one, really, because if you look at his style of play, and then he was playing against Arsenal, who's going to be next week, and it's going to be Manchester City, for instance, you want to try and get these results out of these kind of teams. Whereas I think you can kind of risk that a little bit more when it's like Reading, Birmingham, for instance. It's a hard one because, for me, I think the best formation what could be used at this moment in time is possibly a 4-3-3. I think that might potentially work the most, in my opinion, because we can still play that 4 in the back. We've got plenty of midfielders who can play in the midfield position. And we've obviously up front, we can put Leah Golden up front. We can put, I know Tooney played on the right last game, and you could obviously, or you could play Russo, or you could play Martha Thomas either up front or on the right. So you've got them options where you can do that 4-3-3, and if you wanted to do that possession kind of base, you can do that way. I just think, because I see a lot of games where he's been playing in the double pivot, just like Ollie used to play, but I feel like with that double pivot, it doesn't always work a lot of the time. And I'm not a fan of that double pivot formation. So I think overall, I would scrap the double pivot and go with the 4-3-3 and see how that went on, if you want me to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I raised the question on the women's channel, I think it was last week or the week before, that he could try a diamond formation because we are absolutely stacked in midfield. We've got about 6 midfielders for 3 positions, and one of them's occupied with Ella Toon, so then you've only got 2 positions. One of them's Zellum, who's your captain, so now you've only got 1 position, and you've got about 4 midfielders that can fill that. So I raised the question that maybe you go with a diamond. You go your split strikers in Russo and Thomas, or Russo and Galton, whoever it is. You've got Toon sitting behind. You have, let's say, Zellum and Jackie as your 2 8s, and you have Hayley Ladd as your 6. And then you've got your good use of midfield, your high fullbacks, and you're playing just 1-6. Whereas at the moment, he's almost, I get what people's frustrations are with Bo Reese obviously not being played, but he's got a squad at the end of the day, and hopefully he starts using it, because I said before, he's not going to change his system if we're winning, but we're not. So now he needs to start changing his style and look at players that maybe haven't been given much of a chance, like Bo Reese and Martha Thomas, obviously just come back from injury, and see where we are then. Just seeing John's comment there, I totally agree with Galton's depth. If you watch Galton from last season, she was unbelievable. You only have to watch highlights to see how good she was. I think Ben said it, Casey was talking about her being one of the best wingers in the league. And now you're looking at her going, she can't even make a 5-yard run. She doesn't want to take players on. So it is really strange. It's a shadow of the player that we saw last year. Before I go on to my final question, I don't know whether anyone wants to answer that, because I don't actually know. A question about Phil Neville, whether he's still in the women's. I'm assuming he's still in the women's game. I don't know where he is at the moment.
He's manager of Inter Miami.
Yeah, the men's team for Inter Miami, because he did leave the Lionesses team, and he moved to Inter Miami, what David Beckham owns.
Yeah, he's manager there, and his son left Man United to play for him as well.
Yes, Harvey Neville, Edwin Wright.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah,
the American League is slowly creeping up on everybody. It seems like everyone's going over there. In the women's, obviously, it's been further down the line than the men's, but yeah, they're definitely getting some ex-English kind of pros over there.
Do you imagine Phil Neville was the Man United manager? Everybody would be losing. Nobody have any hair left. No, mate, I'm being serious. But the amount of stick that he used to get for England, but yeah, he won England a pot of silver. So I think he was harshly treated. But I like Phil Neville.
Yeah, it would be good to get the Neville chant round LSV as well, wouldn't it? We sing it every so often, but right. I'll go to my final question then. I don't even know, Maisie, I'll come to you first. Again, I'm going to drop you in it first, then me and Benny will wrap this up. I don't even know how I would answer, so I'm glad I'm last. How do you inject some positivity into the club at the moment? Because I know it's results driven, but the men's, the women's, and the academy at the moment is just negativity wherever you look. How do you think the club can do something to try and turn this around for the women's, for the men's, or just in general, something for the fans to hold on to?
You know what? It's just so difficult, because I have a lot more positivity, I must admit, for the women's game than I do for the men right now. I must admit, because I do look at it, and I think when you do look at the women's team, you do think, yeah, you're still in that title race. Even technically, the men are still in the title race technically, because how I look at it is think anything can happen from now till December, from December till May. That's how I look at it. I just think just to give that little bit of patience. But with Marc Skinner and Ollie's been in the job a lot longer than Marc Skinner, so you can't exactly say be patient with Ollie when Marc Skinner's been there a couple of months at the same time as well. The positives of how I would take is that we've obviously got that talent, and we just need to use that talent in the right way. And it's just such a hard. I would not know how I would make any kind of positivity, but I would just try and say look forward to the next game, see how it goes in December. But at the moment, I can't see any positives at all for the men's game. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm glad I'm last on this one, because I really don't know. I mean, Stu's saying there we need an exorcist. I don't disagree. This whole club needs a complete reset at the moment. I don't know what we do. I mean, Niall's talking about England now. I mean, that says it all. You talk about England, we're talking about United, and you're trying to deviate to England. It's that bad at the moment. But yeah, I don't even know how I'd answer. Benny, obviously, I'm conscious of time. I'll ask you the kind of same question. How do we get some positivity back in the fan base?
The thing is, mate, the way I look at it, no matter how you get positive feedback, even with winning games, there's some moaning idiot that's not very happy. You can't please everybody, unfortunately. But the way I look at it is just back your managers, back your team. End of the day, that's what proper fans are supposed to do. I'm sick and tired of this sort of massive divide in the fan base, because matchgoers and Glazers sympathise apparently well. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have the clubs. We actually know what it is to support a football club through thick and thin. Take me back to the 70s, we were in Division 2. Old Trafford was selling out every single week. 80% of away grounds were all full of United fans. That's support. That's all I'm going to say.
There you go. Mic drop. That was bang on. John said there when Ed Woodward leaves. We did a show reacting to.
But when Ed Woodward does leave, it's just going to be another yes person. It's all in house, mate.
It's just a very toxic circle, and whoever's the Manchester United manager has got a big job on their hands, knowing what the kind of board we have. It's always going to be a challenge, no matter what. And this is why we need to looking further up rather than looking at the man who is just there at the firing line where everyone can see him. Yeah,
I totally agree with you. And it's like I was just going to say. I mean, we did a show when Ed Woodward announced his return, and he's still here. And it looks like he might be taking a consultant job. Exactly, he's still around involved in the club. It's like we were so happy that day, and now it looks like he's still going to be involved anyway. Oh, crikey. Anyway, look, guys, I've really enjoyed tonight. Obviously, Maisie, it's first time on the men's side of the channel. Where can we find you? What's your Twitter? And obviously, you've got your YouTube channel as well.
Mm-hmm. My YouTube channel is Devils United. What's underneath here? I do men and women content for Manchester United on my channel. And you can also find me as well on Twitter, which is at 2_ MUFC Maze. I just want to say a big thank you to Connor for getting me onto this channel. It's an absolutely amazing channel. I've been watching it for so long, and I was absolutely excited coming on.
Yeah, brilliant. We'll definitely have you back on this show as well in the next few weeks. And I'm sure we'll both see you over on All for United WFC in the next kind of few days. Are you on Friday?
Next on Friday.
There we go. Then we'll see you on Friday. Make sure you go. While I'm on that, make sure you go and subscribe to All for United WFC. They are live in 10 minutes. You get to see Benny again. He's live over there in 10 minutes.
You lucky lot, eh? It's Mowgli Mush again. There we go.
So you get to dissect everything from yesterday's game in much more detail. So make sure you go and check that out. Make sure you like and subscribe on this video. We've got videos all this week. We're back in action on the men's this weekend. Crikey. We've got a tactical preview on Thursday, I believe it is, timeline talk, and obviously all the reactions and all that kind of stuff for the weekend as well. But yeah, thanks guys for coming on. Brilliant to see you all in the comments. We'll see you soon.
Later.